There was a night I still remember, thin moon through the blinds, the kitchen clock ticking like a metronome for my worry. You can picture it, a small table scattered with bills, a coffee gone cold, the glow of a phone screen that keeps showing the same missed call. Our hero sat there, shoulders hunched, eyes rimmed with the fatigue that only months of sleeplessness can carve. "We'll manage," she whispered to herself, but the word sounded thin, like a bandage on a deeper wound. Outside, the city slept. Inside, invisible monsters prowled, red numbers, automated voices, the shame that tightens the chest. A sudden ring made her jump, another collection agency, another polite but empty promise to work with you. She hung up and felt smaller. That was the setting, the ordinary world where scarcity had become law. Then something shifted, subtle as the first breath of dawn. A friend, someone who had once been in the same place, leaned across a cluttered table and said, "There's another way. It starts inside." Those words were the call to adventure. It wasn't about cutting every coffee or denying joy, it was about shifting an inner frequency that had unconsciously tuned her life to lack. "Listen, I've stood where you stand. I've watched that same look of exhausted resolve soften into curiosity. I know the weight of fear that says, if I let myself hope, I'll only set up for more disappointment. But what if that fear is the very thing anchoring you to the struggle? What if, instead of fighting the bills, we begin by changing the way you think about money, your relationship to possibility, your vibration?" Imagine the scene again. This time, the phone rings and you breathe instead of flinch. You answer with calm. The lights feel a touch warmer. The envelopes are still there, but they no longer have the power to shrink you. In this journey I invite you on, I will show practical, step-by-step ways to identify the hidden thought patterns that feed scarcity, to dismantle fear-driven habits, and to reprogram your vibration so opportunities start aligning with you. Before we continue, tell me, what is your biggest pain with debt right now? Fear of loss, relentless calls, or a loss of hope? Comment below, and, if you're ready to move from overwhelm to empowered abundance, stay with me, and next I'll show you how to spot the exact beliefs keeping money away. He sits at the kitchen table under the yellow spill of a single lamp, envelopes like small white flags scattered in front of him. The apartment smells faintly of coffee and the comforter of a life stretched thin. I remember the first time I sat across from him, dark circles, voice that rushed and then choked, the map of worry folded into the lines at his temples. "I don't know how to stop this," he whispered. "Every month it's the same fight. I try to be reasonable, but something inside me keeps pulling me back into panic." I leaned in, not with quick fixes, but with a question that would become the hinge of his change. "What are you saying to money when you aren't listening?" He blinked, surprised. We tend to think money is only practical, numbers, budgets, negotiations, but the deeper conversation is internal. The room seemed to hold its breath as he searched for answers. We traced the origin of his words, childhood whispers about scarcity, a parent's offhand warning about debt, nights when lack equaled shame. Those invisible threads had woven a story that repeated itself every time a bill arrived. That evening I taught him to name the thought that tightened his chest. We called it out loud, simple and blunt: "I am not enough." Saying it felt like lighting a match in a dark room, sudden, revealing. Then we did something practical, a small ritual of recognition and redirection. He closed his eyes, counted 3 slow breaths, and I guided him to imagine a single debt melting away, not by magic, but by changing the story around it. We replaced judgment with curiosity. What if this debt is a teacher? What belief would I need to change to allow a different outcome? There were tears, and a reluctant laugh when he admitted how ridiculous some of his internal rules sounded. We worked on language, switching from "I can't" to "I am learning," and on tiny, repeatable actions that begin to shift vibration, a nightly gratitude for what did work that day, a 5-minute visualization of money arriving, a compassionate ledger of every small step taken toward resolution. The environment of scarcity slowly softened, his posture straightened, not because bills vanished, but because he no longer carried them as an identity. If any of this lands with you, if fear of loss, relentless calls, or a hollowing hope keeps you awake, leave a like and tell me which pain is loudest for you. Subscribe gently if you want to follow the exact practices we used. Next, I'll lead you through the first practical vibrational reset you can use tonight. The kitchen is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the stack of envelopes like small, accusing clouds on the table. He sits there, our hero, palms pressed to his forehead, the clock painting the minutes in fluorescent numerals. I kneel beside him, not with platitudes but with a simple map. The law of attraction is not mysticism to wish away debt, it's a language your mind speaks, and we're going to teach it new words. I've tried thinking positive, he says, voice brittle. It never changes the balance in my bank. I smile gently. Thinking is only the starting line. Let's find the hidden sentences running under your thoughts, the ones that say a never, can't, not enough. Those are the anchors. We'll lift them. We begin small. In the morning light he practices a 2-minute breath that becomes a ritual. Inhale clarity, exhale the story of scarcity. We write together, not grocery lists, but the beliefs that whisper late at night. I'll never catch up, he writes, then we tape it to the fridge and read it aloud until it sounds strange, because once named, fear loses its power. I show him an exercise, a 5-minute visualization not of extravagant wealth, but of a single bill paid, a single voicemail answered with calm, a single small deposit arriving. We add emotion, relief, not arrogance, and anchor it with a tangible action, a call to a creditor, a negotiated payment, a scraped-together payment made with dignity. He scoffs, then tries. The first week brings small miracles that science and spirit both understand. Focus directs attention, attention attracts opportunity. A neighbor offers a part-time job, a forgotten refund appears, a client returns. More importantly, his inner tone changes, worry loosens into resourcefulness. We practice reframing every "I can't" into "how could I," and the entire posture toward money shifts from defensive to curious. There are moments of doubt, old monsters rearing, but now he recognizes them and speaks back. You're not in charge, he says to the fear like naming an intruder. The fear, no longer anonymous, loses momentum. If this feels familiar, give this video a quiet like and tell me below, which fear keeps you awake at night, loss, calls, or hopelessness? Stay with me, next we turn these experiments into habits that lock this new vibration into your daily life. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight when he finally admitted it aloud, I feel trapped. Every bill is a reminder I'm failing. The overhead light haloed a stack of envelopes like small, accusing moons. I sat across from him, not with formulas or shame, but with a steady voice. Those bills are symptoms, not the whole story. First we must find the thought that feeds them. He rubbed his temples, the same place tension lived for months, and listened as if the possibility of change were a rare radio station finally coming in clear. We worked through a single evening like detectives. I asked him to close his eyes and speak the first sentences that came to mind about money. I'm not enough, he whispered. Money slips away because I don't deserve it. That admission was the map. Beneath the paperwork were beliefs acting like anchors. We named them scarcity, unworthiness, fear of loss, and watched how each thought tightened his chest. Then we began to dismantle them, gently and precisely. For every negative script he voiced, I invited a counterimage. Instead of I don't deserve this, we crafted, I am learning to receive what supports me. He practiced saying it aloud, feeling the syllables settle in his body like a new key. We moved from talk to ritual. Morning became a short, sacred sequence, 3 conscious breaths, a visual where money arrives as warm light into an open hand, a list of 1 concrete step to take that day, call the creditor, open a budgeting app, or send 1 overdue message. Small wins rewired his confidence. A phone call went better than expected. The creditor offered a flexible plan. He felt the first loosened knot of panic. At night he kept a small gratitude notebook on his nightstand, recording instances of help, however small, a neighbor's advice, a coupon, a friend's encouragement. Each entry raised his internal vibration, shifting the frequency he broadcast to the world. We also named the saboteurs, fear, perfectionism, and set simple counters. When fear whispers, take a breath and list 3 recent good outcomes. If this resonates, tap the like button softly so we know to keep going. Tell me below, which thought steals your calm most, fear of loss, relentless calls, or loss of hope? Subscribe to follow the next step, where we turn this newfound frequency into a concrete action plan that builds momentum and permanent relief. I remember that late-night scene like a film in slow motion, you at the kitchen table, lamp casting a small halo over creased bills, a coffee gone cold, the clock ticking louder than hope. "I can't get ahead," you whisper, and the room answers with the weight of past mistakes. That whisper is the enemy we begin to name. It's not the numbers on the paper that trap you first, it's the stories you tell yourself, the invisible script that repeats scarcity like a broken record. I sit with you in that kitchen, not as stranger, but as someone who's walked that path and learned to change the script. Listen to the conversation that shifts everything. You say, "What if it's too late?" And I answer, steady and calm, "It's not too late." Let's start with what you believe when you close your eyes. We trace the old beliefs back to their origins, voices of doubt learned in childhood, fears born of an unexpected bill, the silent rule that money is a scarce resource. Naming them takes away their power. The first practice is simple and mercilessly practical. For 5 mornings, write down 3 things you already possess that made your life easier this week. Not future fantasies, real, present evidence. Gratitude changes the electrical charge of your thought. Then we shift to a tiny visualization. Imagine money as warm light moving through a door you open. Feel the weight of that light settle in your chest, not as desperation, but as permission. Say aloud, "I welcome resources that support my life." The voice feels small at first, keep speaking it until it sounds truthful. We also create an action anchor, a 20-minute window each day where you scan for opportunities, not problems. Call one person, check one account, research one alternative. Action aligns your energy with possibility. You will meet resistance. Old stories will murmur, "You're just wishing." When that voice appears, have a short reply ready, "Thank you for protecting me. I choose differently now." That simple exchange rewires your response. If this resonates, tap like and tell me in the comments which thought pattern hurts you most: fear of loss, relentless calls, or loss of hope, and if you want, subscribe to follow the next steps. In the next part we'll turn these shifts into a concrete 7-day prosperity reset, with exact words, timings, and a real example so you can see how it unfolds in life. He sat at the kitchen table while the night softened around him, bills fanned like fallen leaves, the lamp throwing a small island of light. I remember the moment he whispered to himself, "I don't deserve this," and in that single line the room tightened. That sentence was the chain that had held him to scarcity for years. This is where the work becomes intimate, not in spreadsheets, but in the quiet conversation you have with your own mind. I guided him to speak those beliefs aloud, to bring the invisible into the open, because a thought said in the dark has no chance to be changed. "Why do I believe that?" I asked. He blinked slowly, naming memories of blame, of childhood scarcity, of a parent who worried loudly about money. We traced each fear to its story until the story lost its power. Then we did something practical and kinesthetic. He wrote the opposite of every limiting sentence on index cards, short, believable statements like, "I am learning to manage money with confidence," and placed one by his wallet. Each morning he read them, felt the line in his chest, and carried that small shift into action. This is not magic, it's training attention. We practiced a simple exercise together, visualization with feeling. I asked him to close his eyes and imagine a day where bills were paid, where a check arrived, where a phone call offered a new opportunity. But the trick was to feel it, even for 30 seconds, to let gratitude warm his body. The vibration of gratitude reprograms the nervous system from panic to possibility. He learned to pause before reacting to collection calls, breathe, and answer from a place of calm instead of fear. That new posture made negotiations easier and opened his field to solutions he had ignored. There were small external changes too: a cleared desk, a folder labeled Opportunities, a weekly 30-minute ritual to review numbers without drama. Each practical habit reinforced the inner shift. He laughed the first time a past creditor offered a settlement after he spoke calmly and clearly. The old pattern of shame had dissolved. If this is resonating, tap like and tell me in the comments which thought you want to replace first: fear of loss, relentless calls, or loss of hope, and subscribe so you don't miss the next step. In the following segment, we'll anchor these practices into a rhythm that attracts real opportunities, and you'll see how momentum begins to compound. The kitchen is quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the stack of envelopes fanned across the table like small accusations. You rub your temples and I sit opposite you, not with a lecture but with a warm cup of intention. "I can't do this," you whisper, eyes on a past due notice. I hear the fear threaded through the words, fear that has been trained into your muscles. "That fear belongs to an old story," I say. "Let me show you how to change the script." We begin with what's true and simple. Thought patterns are the architecture of your experience. Close your eyes. Breathe with me, a slow, full inhales, longer exhales. Notice the first thought that rises when you think of money. Is it a knot of scarcity, a remembered failure, a voice that says not enough? Name it without judgment. This is the first tool, witness. When you can name the thought, you separate yourself from it. Now a short exercise you can do at the table right now. Take your phone, open a note. Write one sentence that describes what you fear about money. Under it, write one short sentence that would feel true if you had more security, something believable, not grandiose. For most people that line is simple: I deserve stability, or I can handle what comes. Repeat that sentence out loud, 3 times, with breath after each repetition. That breath anchors the new phrase into your body. We pair inner work with small, courageous actions. Choose one micro-action today: pay a small bill, call a creditor with a calm, clear voice, or place $1 in a jar labeled business seed or unexpected blessings. These tiny acts tell your nervous system that money is competent and safe. As you do them, keep a short wins list, 3 small things that went right about money this week. Read it every morning. You'll resist. I know, because my own hands once trembled at the first deposit notification decades ago. What if it's a fluke, you ask? That's the fear trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. Answer it with evidence. Track every small inflow, no matter how modest. Celebrate them. Teach yourself to expect this movement. If this resonates, tap like and tell me in the comments, which small action will you take today: pay a bill, make a call, or start a wins list. Subscribe if you want the step-by-step ritual I use with clients to invite the first steady trickle of money into their lives. Next, I'll walk you through that ritual and a real case where it changed everything. We sat at the kitchen table under the soft glow of a single lamp, the hero's hands hovering over a stack of envelopes like they might suddenly bite. She whispered, "I'm tired of pretending nothing will change." I leaned forward, not with a checklist but with a calm invitation: let's treat this like training. Your attention is the muscle we'll strengthen. The room smelled of brewed coffee and late-night exhaustion. The clock ticked like a metronome, keeping time with doubt. I asked them to close their eyes and breathe, 3 slow counts in, 3 long counts out, feeling the tightness around the ribs loosen, the shoulders drop. "This is where transformation begins," I said. Not with numbers, but with nervous systems that allow you to receive. We worked through small, tangible rituals: the 60-second gratitude scan naming 3 things already supporting you, a 2-minute future scripting where they described, in present tense, an invoice paid, a calm conversation with a creditor, the relief of an unexpected deposit. I coached a practical breathing cue: breath in for clarity, breath out to release the story of lack, paired with a short affirmation, spoken quietly enough to feel true: I am becoming someone who handles money with ease. Then I taught them an evidence list, 5 tiny facts, today, that point to more abundance: an on-time paycheck, a helpful neighbor, a skill someone complimented. Each fact rewired their meaning-making, scarcity loosened its grip. We translated vibration into action, not frantic spending or denial, but clear, inspired steps: calling one creditor with calm confidence, sorting one drawer of receipts, offering a small thing for sale. The first real-world return came the next week. A creditor agreed to a lower payment after a calm conversation, a small client returned, and a bank error corrected in their favor. Their disbelief softened into wonder. "Was this luck?" they asked. "It's alignment," I answered. "You shifted your inner frequency and your outer world followed." If this scene touches you, give it a like, tell me in the comments, which of these pains rings truest for you right now: fear of loss, relentless calls, or a loss of hope? Stay with me. In the next part we'll turn these small wins into a daily system that scales, step by steady step. The kitchen light hummed as he sat hunched over a tower of envelopes, the clock insisting it was late but his mind refusing sleep. I sat across the table not as a distant teacher, but like a steady neighbor, offering a flashlight through fog. "Show me the thought that hurts the most," I said softly. He laughed, a sound half ashamed, and named it, "I'm not enough. I never catch up." The room seemed to hold its breath. For a moment we weren't talking about numbers, we were naming a wound. That act alone shifted the weight. I guided him through a simple ritual. We labeled the fear, then gave it a time and place to speak so it couldn't drown everything else. He whispered the story of scarcity into a notepad, then closed it and promised to be curious rather than conquered. "What if scarcity is just a habit of attention?" I asked. He raised his head. The question landed like a key. Then we worked practically. I taught him the pivot, a 3-step loop. Notice the tightening thought, breathe and reframe with a small truth: I have resources, I can learn, then take one tiny aligned action. That night the tiny action was calling to reschedule a payment. His hands trembled before the call, then steadied. The voice on the other end was polite, a plan was made, and a small crack appeared in the monster under his bed. We built daily scaffolding, a morning mirror phrase to tune the day, money flows to me with ease, a 3-wins journal to collect evidence of progress, and a 5-minute visualization where he felt the relief as real as a warm cup of coffee. I asked him to treat gratitude like a muscle, exercise it every evening by naming 3 things the day made different. He learned to celebrate micro-victories: an email answered, a late fee waived, a calmer heartbeat. There were setbacks, old thoughts returned like rain. Each time we met them with compassion and a counter-step, not with punishment. "You are retraining attention," I reminded him. Attention builds reality. He began to notice subtle shifts: calmer sleep, fewer panicked calls, opportunities that used to slip by now paused long enough to be seen. If this practice resonates, give it a like and tell me in the comments which step felt hardest: naming the fear, doing the tiny action, or the daily rituals. Stay with me. Next you'll see the moment that turns a plan into visible change, and how to anchor that breakthrough so it lasts. You can feel it now, the shift in the air around the kitchen table where the hero once signed away peace with trembling hands. The lamp that used to spotlight unpaid bills now washes the room in warm, steady light. In my mind I hear the soft exchange: "But I've always been in debt," they whispered. I answered, not with empty promises, but with calm conviction: "You've been listening to an old story. We can write a new one together." That was the turning point. The invisible monsters that walked at their heels began to shrink when named: scarcity, guilt, the habit of shrinking away from possibility. Naming them was the first spell. We rewired mornings, not by magic but by ritual, small, practical acts that tuned their vibration. They made a list of tiny wins: a call returned, a card reduced, a payment planned. Each small victory felt like a brick removed from a wall that had once boxed in their future. The breath exercises I guided them through became anchors when a creditor's number flashed on the phone. The mental rehearsal of money flowing created corridors where possibilities moved freely, rather than bumping against barricades of fear. I saw them standing at the window one evening, watching rain turn the street shiny and new. "What if money is responding to how I feel?" they asked. We practiced feeling abundant first, grateful for what was steady, optimistic about what was coming, and watched opportunities arrive: a freelance client, a forgotten refund, an unexpected kindness that eased a month. These were not miracles, they were the natural consequences of a changed inner frequency. If this story landed with you, a small gesture helps me keep creating. Tap like. I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest pain with debt today? Fear of loss, relentless calls, or a loss of hope? Share in the comments so I can tailor the next guidance to your real struggle. If you want simple, practical steps delivered to your inbox and a steady companion on this journey, subscribe, come back and let's continue replacing old beliefs with practices that bring real, lasting prosperity.